Hi, I'm Bet from Bet's Makes, and today's mini lesson is all about making stencils. And this is so easy to do. You're going to love it. We're going to use a couple of shapes and make some stencils. We're going to take some text and make some stencils. So let's get going by starting a new project. So I'll just click on New. I'm going to replace what I have on the screen. And let's pull up some shapes. Let's start with a star. Bring it over here, and maybe we can bring up a heart as well. Maybe we'll just use these two for our starting part. We'll do the letters in a moment. So now we want to make a stencil, and we just want to stencil out these two items. Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use another shape, and this time it is going to be a square. Two of them. I don't need both. I'm just going to delete the second one here. Let's take this first one. I'm going to change its color to yellow. Now we have to decide what size do we want our stencil to be when we print it out or cut it out, and what size it's going to be so that you can use it for stenciling. Well, generally you don't need a stencil that's 8.5 by 11, but you want a stencil that's a lot smaller. Probably you want 6 inches wide and maybe 8 inches tall. It doesn't need to be very big. So let's take this square, let's undo the lock, and we decided up here we wanted it 6 inches wide. Then I'm going to hit the tab key to go over to the next one, and we want it 8 inches tall. Perfect. So let's lock that in place. Click on the lock. Now with a stencil, you probably want to leave a little bit of a margin around the edges just to make sure that things don't get over the edge. So I'm just going to put a little placeholder in here. I'm going to do another square, and I'm going to take that square, I'm going to unlock it. I'm just going to push it up here and bring it down here. And I'm going to center those two together. So let's go to the align. Let's do it horizontally and vertically. And I don't like black, so let's make it something where we can see what we're working on. Let's go light orange. Okay, I'm going to highlight them both, and I'm just going to group them because we're going to get rid of this top one in a little while. So let's bring this to the middle. Now all we need to do is a shape like this. Maybe I'm going to zoom in a bit just so that we can work with something a little larger. Now it depends on the size you want to use. Let's change this to a red heart. It doesn't really matter because we're going to cut it out eventually. So that is a pretty big heart. Let's take a look at the width here. Yeah, let's make these 1-inch hearts. Let's all lock together. 1 inch. Okay, so 1 inch, that's a pretty good size heart, but that's a good starter. Oh, our heart's in behind, so let's arrange and bring it to the front. Lovely. So if our stencil, you might want to have several of these hearts, and you can arrange them any way you want. Now this will be a stencil that'll probably go on a card. Up here we could do it this way if it gets... Maybe bring this one down here. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to move these over just a little bit. We don't want to add our star at this point. But what we want to do in order now to make this stencil, we don't want to be spending a lot of time punching one thing out at a time. What we want to do is take all these hearts together. I'm just going to shift click and select them all. I'm doing it in the layers panel because it's easier. I'm going to weld them together. And what welding does is it makes it one shape. Now we still need this square in the middle just for the alignment, but we are not going to cut it and we're not going to punch a hole in it. So what I'm going to do is come over here and turn the eyeball off. With our card in behind, because we know we want to make another one the same size, I don't want to waste my time, so I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm just going to move it out of the way for now. But now we have the hearts here and the card behind, so we're going to select these two pieces. Remember, they're only two now because we welded the hearts. Now I see I've got this other card here. No, it should be fine. What we're going to do now is come up here and click slice. Now I have the hearts all put together like this. I can drag them out, but you'll see that I have these other hearts now, and I'm going to do them on the layers panel. I have a yellow set as well. They're in behind here. Let me just scroll down. And we have a set of yellow hearts, and we have a set of red hearts that we can use for another design at another time. But now we have our stencil all ready, and it is going to be absolutely perfect because you can use this as a stencil. You can use paint over top. You can use chalk or crayons, and that will make a pattern on almost anything you want. So that is a very simple way. I can do the same thing with the stars. So let's zoom back in a bit. Just going to make it a little bit smaller if we got our star hiding in behind here. So we could do the same thing with the stars here, but I'm going to set that aside. I just want to show you one little thing that we can do with lettering, and we'll do our stencil part. Let's look at this guy again. Now we're just going to place him in place here. Let's bring him up front. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag him up so he comes on top. And I'm going to take those two pieces together now, and I want to group them. And that's just so they stay together and I can work with it. What we want to do now that we've done one simple stencil like this is work with some lettering. So let's go get some letters. Click on our text, and let's just put in love. Now the text that I have here is not necessarily the best one for what we want to do to make a stencil, and I'll tell you exactly why. You could punch the hole in with love. What the issue is this little part with the E here. Once you push that out, it's going to look somewhat strange because when it cuts out, it'll cut here, but it'll also cut on the outside edge. It has no way of knowing that this inner parts need to stay. It's just going to come out as a big blob. Now I'll show you what I mean. I'm just going to click on the love again, and over here let's get a different font. Let's go for our text. Let's type in love again, but this time we're going to use a different font. So let's come up here to our fonts, and let's go to our system fonts. Let's go to one that might work better. Now you want something that's pretty big, but you also want something where you can take the font and make a change, a little change to how it's going to look. So I want something that's pretty fat and big. So let's take a look at this font. Now you can pick any font you want. You'll notice that the only problem we have is the O here. That's going to create an issue. So let me just bring this down. I'm going to show you a little trick about how you can open up a little spot here and make it so easy to make your font. I have to decide where I want the hole to be with it, or if I want to have a shape. Now let's go back and pick on a heart. I like hearts. It's going to be a big heart. Make our heart red. Okay, let's bring it over here. Now it's giant, so I'm just going to make it really small. And I'm just going to take the love right here. You can see how we have all of this put together. Well, now what's going to happen with that thing in the middle if I cut a hole through the love? Now let's just watch this. Now I can slice the heart out. So let's do a slice. And let's take a look at our little parts here. You'll see that we have this cut part, and that's really what we want to get rid of. So we want to delete that. And now we have some other parts that we can get rid of as well. So let's take a look at this part. Let's get rid of that. And now we have a little hole inside here. And let's take a look at this piece and let's delete that. And now we have an O with a hole in it, but you'll see you get a little bit of a shape. Now that's not exactly what we want to do, but you could cut something inside there, but now the love has a hole in it. So let's try that one more time, but we can use something different. I'm just going to Control Z to get all of these little pieces back. And it's just the way that you're going to be able to take that apart and decide what kind of shape or what kind of hole you want to have on it. You could use a star. You can infuse a star with it as well. So it's up to you on how you want to cut the hole. You don't want it to be left the way it is. So let's just try one more. And maybe the square might work a little better. Let's bring it down. It's rather huge. Let's unlock it. I'm going to make it just a little skinny thing. Let's lock it. And maybe you just want the hole to be right here, just a small part. So let's go across here. Let's slice it. Let's get rid of all the pieces that we don't want. And we can see them better in the layers panel. And there's another one here. Let's delete that. So now you have the word love, but there is a small hole in it, and that makes a better stencil because the middle part will not fall through. So that is a mini lesson on how to use text and shapes to make stencils. It's fairly easy, and it depends on the material you want to cut the holes from. I usually use little pieces of dividers, the plastic dividers I buy in the dollar store, and they make perfect stencils. So until next time, happy crafting.